anytime somebody runs their own business, then you must be willing to deal with failure. Do something out of the norm at least once a month. Best thing for an entrepreneur, being able to listen to what a client is saying and be able to realize what the client needs and sell it to them. Welcome to the Ethel Kofi Startup School with Ethel Kofi. I hope you've had a good week. It's Thursday, so excited about the week coming to an end. Unfortunately for us entrepreneurs, I don't know that works, but we can think of the illusion of Friday and we get a chance to rest. For the first time viewers, you're welcome. For those that are coming back second, third, fourth time, you're welcome. We're excited to have you. We're glad that you're learning and coming back and relearning. For the first timers, here's just to give you a little idea of what the Ethel Kofi Startup School is not, before I tell you what it is. It is not a motivational program or show that talks about you can do it, you can be an entrepreneur. This is an actual practical MBA, sort of an MBA in entrepreneurship. Over the next 6 months, if you stick and stay with us and you work with us for every week on all the things you teach, you'll find that as an entrepreneur, you will have learned more, or as somebody who is sitting in the office right now who has a corporate job that is really thinking, okay, should I make the jump or not? You would have learned enough to either help you make the jump or at least start on your journey to entrepreneurship. So it's not a feel-good show about what it takes. This is a real show about what you have to do in order to run a business. I wanted to acknowledge we had a winner. So every week we give out a book. Last week we gave out, I think, a book on collaboration. So it's a Harvard Business Review on collaboration. The winner was Kwame Asaridodu. So congratulations, Kwame Asaridodu. And if you stick and stay with us until the very end of the show and answer the question, you will also be able to win. I'll tell you a little bit more about the book that we're giving out this week. I think last week there were a couple of questions or a couple of comments that we didn't get through before the show ended. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Yao Bing, YouTube, Kwame Asaridodu already, then to Jewel Brown, and Emmanuel Edemao, George Hayford, and Nyameba Kwesi. Nyameba, okay, it's nice spelling. Nyameba Kwesi Amwane for commenting and sharing questions and sharing our content with people that you know that might need it. So I'm going to ask you to take a moment now. If you know somebody who needs to hear about how to build their business, how to grow their business, please share it in your timeline. So share in your timeline or tag them in the comments so that they will be alerted to the show and they can watch it. And today we're talking about validating your business idea. So we'll get to that soon. But before I do that, let me talk to you about the book we're giving out today. So I promise that if you stick and stay with us, at the end of the show, I'll ask a question. So the very first person that's able to answer the question, and I will try and be tricky so that it's not just a straightforward question. This week I'm giving away the Harvard Business Review book on communication. So it's a good book to read. Again, it's a Harvard Business Review book, so it's a good book. We're talking about business validation. So part of validating your business is learning how to communicate. So this is a good book for the right time that will just enable you to be able to learn how to communicate your thoughts with your employees, but also sort of marketing communication, communicating your product to your customers. Right, so that we've gotten all the intros out of the way now. Let's start with today. Today our topic today is validating your business ideas. So here's the thing. You can sit in your room and sit in your house and think, oh, I think I am going to run a business that does A or B. You know, you have an idea and then you launch it. Because I've done this before, I'll tell you. And then it doesn't work. Nobody buys from you. Nobody wants the product. And then you're wondering, you know, am I meant to be an entrepreneur? This is such a big failure. This is essentially my story because, you know, if you've listened to my story, I left a very nice job in London working in consulting to come and start a business in Ghana. And I didn't really do any validation of my ideas. And I lost all my savings. So all my, you know, all my savings that I had brought in to start a business, I lost all that money because I just hadn't validated business. And you all know somebody who's telling you about their business idea, you're just like, this thing is not going to work, right? And they haven't validated it, but they've started it and they're excited about it. So today, we're trying to ensure that at least you mitigate the risk, right? So this is the whole thing about the Ethel Kofi Startup School. The problem is for us entrepreneurs, for even those that have just started and those who are thinking about it. You're sitting in your office right now or wherever you're sitting listening. You're thinking, you know, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. And this is the reason why I have the Ethel Kofi Startup School. It's part of it is just from my journey of being an entrepreneur and thinking, I mean, I really wish I had some sort of coach, some person that had been there before, who's done it before, that can at least give me, you know, some sort of guidelines. Because sometimes you're stuck and, you know, or there are 10 decisions and you don't know which is the right decision. So this is what we're here today for. And the aim is that we're going to reach at least 10,000 African entrepreneurs, to help grow and scale 10,000 African entrepreneurs. So I'm hoping you're one of them. So let's go. How do you validate your business? Before I go through those steps, I also want to talk about how to generate the ideas, because I've talked to some people and they think, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know what business to do. Now, if you're typically in Africa, there's a lot of buy and sell, right? So you can go to China and go and bring goods and come and sell. That's fine. You don't need to validate that. As long as somebody else is selling it here and you get your distribution right, you can do that. But if you want to build out a service, a consulting business, product manufacturing, in order to know what people need, right? So every type of business meets a need, whether you're meeting a need for a business or even the games you play on your phone. Do you know what the games on your, the need the games on your phone meet? They meet your need to not be bored. And they meet your need for competitiveness. Everything meets your need, right? So you've got to solve a problem. So you've got to go out. Don't spend time by yourself thinking through ideas. Actually go out, talk to people, meet people, move. You know, remember when I talked to you about the first week when I said, you know, move out of your comfort zone. Go and talk to, if you're a doctor, go and spend time. If your friend is a salesperson, go and spend time in their office. All these things give you an opportunity to see the problems out there and how you could possibly build a business to solve it. So in order to generate ideas, you've got to go out, meet people, talk to people, you know, be part of conversations, do things that are outside your comfort zone, and you'll be amazed at how many things you see. I mean, there was something on the TV, was it on the TV a couple of weeks ago, somebody who's repackaged, the Ghanaians will know the sapo, and they are selling it in the US, and I think it's less than $1 in Ghana, but it's selling it for $12 in the US, right? So you never know. Go out there, see people, understand what the need is. Okay, now that you've generated the idea, most people have an idea of what they want to do. Now let's talk about validating the idea. The first thing is first thing you need to do is to validate the problem. Like I said before, every solution, every business is solving a problem. Solving a problem, right? So the first thing you've got to, we've met people like this. Somebody was talking to me a while back, I've got to remember, and they were talking about how their business, what they do is they come in and they rearrange your closets so that, like, their thing was women don't want to spend money to buy new clothes. So they come in and rearrange your closet so that you can do, you know, if you are maybe used to wearing this top with this skirt, they come in and rearrange your closet so that you can sort of see the different things you can wear and sort of give you a fresh look. And I thought, I want to buy new clothes. Actually, not a problem that I have. Maybe this, you know, I want to make more money so I can buy clothes, but there's not a problem that I have that I do not want new clothes. Every woman, I think, with a few exceptions, wants new clothes. Everybody, I think, wants new clothes. So craft your problem well. It could be that, for instance, let me use a really good example. So my company, Adele Technology Consulting, we're an IT consulting firm. We have one product. We have one software product, which is a customer relationship management product. Now, when we're thinking about that product, one of the thoughts that we had was, okay, we want to sell it to sales managers, one. And then the second thing we thought was like, look, one of the biggest problems sales managers in large companies, so we're talking about companies that are making revenue of maybe $2 million and above. One of their biggest problems is ensuring that their salespeople are meeting targets. Now, we felt that one of the biggest problems for them was they were not able to get the information quickly that maybe the targets were not being met so that they could make changes. So for instance, instead of being able to instantly know that, okay, if my target for this week is $100,000 and as at Thursday, we have only talked to people that can bring us $20,000. There's a problem and we need to make a change. So that's a problem that we felt that salespeople had, or sales managers had, you know, so this is companies that are making upwards of $5 million a year. This is a problem they had, the sales managers in those companies that have large group of salespeople had. Okay, so what did we do? We wanted to validate the problem. And I'm going to go through a list of questions we asked. These are a list of questions you should go out and ask your target market. So don't sit in your room and dream up the business idea, because it's not a room that is going to buy it. It's the people out there, the businesses and the human beings out there that are going to buy it, right? So first, the first question we ask is, tell me the last time you tried to do X, right? So it could be, for us with the customer relationship management tool, it was, tell us the last time you tried to ensure that your you could manage your sales pipeline, or tell us the last time you wanted to make sure that your sales people were going out there and selling to meet the sales your sales targets, right? So the typical sales manager will say, oh, I do this every week, right? And relate this to your business. They'll say, oh, I do this every week. You know, I try and track what they are doing, who they are selling to, their activity. So if I have a 20-man sales team, I'm trying to track all these 20 salespeople. And you ask them, but why do you track them? Again, we're going to ask the same question in different ways so that we can get the right answer, right? So human beings sometimes, how they answer questions might not be straightforward. So you want to ask the same question about 3 or 4 times. So you've asked them, the first thing we ask is, we framed it in terms of of what we thought their problem was, right? So when was the last time you tried to manage your sales, make sure that you could see what your sales team was doing? They're like, oh, I do this every Friday. I do this every week. And then you ask, but why do you do it? So you want them to validate the problem. It's like, no, I make sure that I track my salespeople because without that, I want to know if we are not making the sales target so that I can change strategy. You see, they are now telling you what their problem is. You've asked the question, you framed it, but you've asked another question, and they're now telling you, they might be telling you a little bit of what their problem is. Next is, again, a different variation on that question is, what are you trying to achieve this? And the salesperson might say, I'm trying to achieve my revenue target. Look, I'm the sales manager. If I don't hit my revenue targets, they are going to sack me. or my company is not, or if it's an entrepreneur, if I don't hit my sales targets, then my company is not making enough to make a profit, right? So that, again, you are walking them through what their problem is and how they would like to solve the problem. Now, then the question is, how have you tried to improve the next question is, how have you tried to improve X? So how have you tried to improve the way in which you manage your salespeople? And they'll say, oh, you know, maybe every Friday I let all my salespeople put their activities on an Excel sheet. So they can write, oh, I talked to 20 customers, one from this company, one from that company, one from that company. This company could bring in maybe 10,000. This company could bring in maybe 20,000. So I have them put it all in an activity sheet or an Excel sheet, and they bring it to me on Friday. That's how I have tried to improve the tracking, rather than trying to maybe use emails. I now use an Excel sheet, which I get every Friday. Now, and then you ask them again, maybe if you can get them to show you the Excel sheet, right? Show me how you do it. So show you the Excel sheet. Okay, all right, so this is how, and then I put all of it together and I look at all the 20 salespeople's Excel sheets, right? And then I try and figure out, okay, if my target is 100,000, okay, right now my salespeople are only talking to, the pipeline we have is about maybe 20,000. So it doesn't look like we are going to hit the target, right? Now, you see what we've done here? We've asked enough questions and we've asked them to show us that we're validating whether actually this is a need. Now, the salesperson has told us that actually this is a problem that we might have. This is a problem that we have. That I have, you know, this large number of salespeople, and I get them all to send Excel sheets, and it's, you know, such a hassle managing it. So we are validating, okay, we think that this problem that we think that we can solve for this company, we think that it's a valid problem. Okay, then the next question you ask, which is one of the most important questions, are you already paying for a solution to solve your problem? It's like, oh, we have, you know, the salesperson can say, oh, we have Excel, and we pay a license for Excel, so that's what we're doing. So what have you done in this conversation? And usually, I would say to you, talk to about 10 or 15 people. Even if it is you're building for, you know, if you're not building for a business and you're building for a typical, just a person, go and talk to 10 or 15 people and just try and get them to, rather than say, which is what most entrepreneurs do, where they say, okay, I have this solution. I have a piece of software that allows you to track all your sales processes and all your sales activities. So at every instance, you can tell what your salespeople are doing. And then the person said, it looks nice, right? That's what most entrepreneurs would do, rather than, the problem I want to solve is I want to enable sales, you know, I want to enable salespeople, sales managers instantly get access to the sales activities of their team, so they can immediately tell if if their salespeople are not meeting targets, and change strategy so he can meet targets. Do you see? You see the difference in thinking or asking questions? Because I don't know which country you're in, but in some countries, honestly, people are very nice. If you tell them, oh, do you think it's a good idea? They'll say, yes, it's a good idea. And then when it comes to buying, they won't buy. Right? So validate the problem. So let me walk through the questions again. 1, can you tell me the last time you did X? So put X with the problem you're trying to solve. What is the reason you do X? Again, the problem you are trying to solve. What are you trying to achieve by doing X? Actually, let me read from here. This is much better. How often, what are your reasons for doing X? This is the activity that the problem solves. How often do you do it? What are you trying to achieve or get done by doing that activity? Can you describe step by step how you do the activity? Or can you show me how you do the activity? what happens before and after you experience the problem? So I'm going through an in-depth set of questions, right? What don't you like about how you solve the problem? So now that the person says, I use an Excel sheet, what don't you like about using the Excel sheet? They say, I have to it's 20 people. I have to take all those 20 people and put it together in one Excel sheet. Okay. And then the 10th question, are you already paying for a solution to your problem, or what would you pay to have this problem tackled for you? Somebody says, it's not a big problem for me, so maybe $5, right? Somebody says, oh, this is a huge thing for me. I mean, if I don't meet my sales targets, I might lose my job. So, it's worth $100,000, right? You've got to get the person to tell you how much it's worth to them. Because let me tell you something. Sometimes when people manufacture, especially the manufacturing industry, they say, okay, this is my cost of manufacturing. Then they put, this is my markup cost. So they say my cost of manufacturing is $2. And then my markup is, maybe I put another $1.50. So I'm selling it at $3.50. But whatever it is you're selling is of so much value to the customer might even be willing to pay for $50. I'm a proponent of sell at the value of the product to the customer versus cost of production plus, increase, right? So if the value of what you're selling is $50 or $100 or $10,000 to that client, and your cost of manufacturing or your cost of doing business is $10, sell it for $100. Honestly, I'm a strong proponent of that. Sell based on value. Right, so we now have a list of questions on how to validate the problem. The next thing, which is a little bit tricky, is validating the customer. So normally, we have a target customer in mind, right? So you think, I want to sell, I want to start a car dealership, and I want to sell Hondas, right? And in my mind, my target market for the kind of person that buys Honda is somebody that has left school, that has just left school, has gotten his first job, and wants to drive a car. So that's where I'm going to target. Those are the people I'm going to target. And then you go out and you find out that the people that have left school don't have enough money to buy Hondas. So they're not interested in buying a Honda, right? So maybe you might even do your marketing towards, you go and do your marketing at maybe graduation ceremonies, right? Because you're thinking that's your target market. And then you find out that actually the people who you are targeting cannot afford to or do not want your product, right? So validate the customer. So be very specific in your mind. Be very, very specific about which your demographic, your demographic is, right? So you see how I described it right now. My target market is students that are just graduated and in their first job. Be very clear, right? Even if you're making it up, at least be very clear in your mind. And then go and find out where those people are congregated. So if you're selling a baby product, right? So then it's where do people who buy baby products congregate? It might be the maternal health, whatever, at the clinic, or there might be some events that like parenting events. Those are where they are. Now go and ask them, right? So you have to validate that customer in order to ask them if the problem really exists for them. So go and find those customers and talk to them, right? Be very, very clear. I want to sell to, 45-year-old men that work in insurance. That's fine. I'm sure that the insurance agency in your country has an insurance event you can attend and talk to 45-year-old men at insurance. Be very clear of who to sell. look, don't say that I sell to everybody. Even Facebook started by being specific about their target market. Facebook was for students in Ivy League universities. That's how they started, right? So they started out at Harvard, Stanford, and they were using it. And guess what? That generation left school, right? And then they expanded as more universities wanted to get. That generation left school, started working, and I don't know how old Facebook is now. And they are now, Facebook, for instance, has right now is Facebook is getting older because the younger generation, the 15-year-olds don't necessarily like Facebook and they want to do Snapchat and Instagram, right? But that's a problem Facebook needs to solve because they targeted us, my generation actually, where we were the Facebook generation. They targeted my generation and we've grown. And we're now, running companies and doing this. So there's an older demographic on Facebook. Be very, very clear who your demographic is. Go and find them and talk to them. Validate that. Because if you find out that actually it might be that you have a good demographic you can sell to, but the problem you have is not the problem that they want solved. So you can tweak the problem, right? And then sell them something different. Or that you have a problem that's a valid problem, but your demographic or your target market is wrong, and then you have to change the target market. But all these things so that you won't have spent money investing in marketing, building a product, and then nobody wants to buy it. All this is to prevent you from getting to that point where you have a product but nobody wants to buy it. Okay. So if we are going with the analogy of the sales team, then it would be, where would I, because I'm selling to sales managers, where would I go? I would go to, there's a lot of people that train sales teams and sales managers. So I would go and talk to them and say, oh, I would love to come to one of your sales training events and talk to the sales managers there to see if this thing that I want to sell is a valid product. You see, I'm going to find the people that I want to sell to immediately and then talking to them and validating. So we validated the problem and then we're validating the customer. Most of the time you do both things at the same time because I ask that you do a lot of observation and you do a lot of asking questions, because the thing is sometimes a human being will answer a question a certain way but will behave a different way. For example, when they ask people, would you put money aside for your pension? Most people say, yes, I want to put money aside for pension. But lots of people don't do it, right? So how human beings behave versus what they say, those are two different things. So you should do both. You should observe their behavior, which is why there's a question about show me how you do it, right? And then versus, just tell me how I want. A lot of people will tell you, I want to exercise, but they don't go to the gym. Right? So be very clear on observe, but also ask questions. And then the third thing is validating your distribution. So here's the thing that I think I have learned just over my time of running adult technology consulting, Women in Tech Africa, and all these other things. I do innovation consulting for businesses, so like companies like the African Women's Development Fund, MTN. I've done innovation consulting for them, and I'm in Côte d'Ivoire in about 3 weeks doing innovation consulting for the CTA. One of the things that I've learned is, if you have a good product but you can't get it in front of the customer, you know what? Forget it. Then you're going to fail in business. You have a great product that solves a great need, but it's not in front of the customer. So you might, if you're doing, and I go back to manufacturing, if you are selling, I don't know, a yogurt or a drink, that is amazing, the best thing ever, right? But it's not in retail shops, or it's not in a place where people can find it to buy, then, you're not going to make money. So the third thing, and next week we'll continue, next week we'll talk about validating the solution and validating pricing. validating the solution and validating pricing. But this week we'll just end at validating distribution. How do your customers want to be reached? That's the question you have to answer when you're meeting your distribution. And before I forget, for those that need reminder, at the end, if you're listening intently, I'm going to give away the HBR Harvard Business Review book on communication. Part of the whole thing is, again, you're asking a lot of questions. So how do you communicate with your team, clients, customers, distributors, partners? Learn about communication. Remember also, again, if you know somebody that really needs to hear what I'm talking about today, share it on their timeline. Just tag them in the comments so that they can watch it to the end of the video. Okay, so how will your customers want to buy your product? How will they want to buy that product? Some people, they don't really think about that because they think, oh, if I build it, they will come. I don't know that that is necessarily true. If you have a nice product and it sits in your house or sits in your room and nobody can find it, guess what? You're not going to make a sale. Some people will distribute it in a retail store, right? So they might build their own retail store, or they might sell to bigger retailers. That's a distribution channel. Or can my product come bundled? Can I partner with someone else and sell it in a bundle? So, I talked to you about the customer relationship management software that my company sells. One of the things we thought about when we were actually validating the product was the first way we can do it. We can have our own salespeople go and sell it, or there are companies that have cloud hosting. For anybody, cloud hosting services, and they sometimes resell software systems as part of their cloud hosting. So they might be selling like a hosting to a company, and they might say, oh, if you're doing, if we're selling you internet or we're selling you cloud hosting, we can put this customer relationship management software and bundle it and sell it to you at cost, right? So we did go and talk to ISPs and companies like that could bundle our customer relationship management system, resell it to them, resell it to their current customers, and split the profits. Again, it means that if that's how I was going to sell it, it means that I don't need to necessarily hire salespeople. All I need is to go and talk to ISPs. That is one way to distribute a product, right? One way to distribute the product. Or it could be, again, I'm going back to, is the product downloadable? If I'm selling maybe, I don't know, a training course, can I sell it as an e-training course, right? So it's downloadable, or you can do it online versus, am I rather going to do a workshop and have people in a physical place? How are you going to deliver and distribute your service, your product, your sales? Something you have to think about. You have to ask yourself the kind of customers that you're targeting. Are they willing, for instance, if you're selling a training course, are they willing to come and be in one place and be physically trained, or they're really busy professionals and they would rather download it and learn on their own? Or would you rather do mobile-based learning, so you build a mobile app and they can do it on their own? How are you going to distribute? That's important. This is something that you have to go away and validate. You've got to talk to your customers and ask them. You've got to ask them which way is the most convenient for you. I mean, think about the telecom companies. Now, what would have happened if you have to buy your credit and your top up for your phone, if you always had to find a retail shop like a Vodafone or an MTN or a Vodacom or a Telcom retail shop and buy it? If that's what you had to do every time, you probably buy less. But they have distributors, right? So how have they sorted out their problem? They have distributors, And those distributors sell to tabletops. And they also have another channel, which is online. So you can also go and top up online, right? So instead of finding, say, a Vodafone shop and going to buy the top up, you can now buy it from the woman that sells oranges in front of your house. Distribution. They solve the distribution problem. So have distributors who then resell at a certain cost to the woman that sells oranges in front of your house, so that you have quick access to it. Distribution. So you've got to ask yourself, what's the simplest and easiest way for people to get your product? Easiest, simplest way for people to get your product, and validate that. Are you going to use a wholesaler, right? So somebody, you sell it to somebody who sells it to smaller people. Are you going to use a retailer? Are you going to do a partner? Is it going to be part of a product? Are you going to sell it directly? Some people are going to say, no, we are an online channel. I'm just going to sell from online. So, or I sell via WhatsApp. So this is my phone number. WhatsApp me, I sell to you. That is fine. But you've got to validate it. If you are selling to people in the village and you are thinking WhatsApp, then you know that your distribution is going to fail, right? So there we go. So this week we've dealt with validating your business. The problem is usually I have a timer. So I don't have a timer, so I don't know if I've gone over the 30 minutes, but we'll wrap up soon. The first part of this is we're validating your business idea before you even go out and build something, right? Go out and buy something, put money, validating if the business is going to be sold. Now, there's a caveat to what I'm saying. So not all businesses, the steps that I've described, not all businesses, it doesn't work for all businesses. So, for instance, if you're creating a new category of business, so you're creating a new industry. So, for instance, before the iPhone came out, right? iPhone created the industry, right? They created the whole app industry. They are the ones that started, you know, we have a phone, a developer can build a mobile app, put it in a Play Store, you can, you put it in a store and you can download. They created that industry. If you're creating a new industry, most people don't understand or know it. So you can't use that path, right? Most of us are already working an existing industry. I work in technology, I work in leadership. So for those ones, if that's an industry that's pre-existing, the questions that I'm asking you to ask, those are easy. If you're creating a new industry, this is that is very, very different, and it takes more of a leap of faith. But I think that honestly, most of our businesses sit within some industry. And so this works for maybe 80–90% of the population. We're all in some sort of industry. It is just that the innovation is a little different. So validate your problem, validate your customer, validate your distribution channels. And next week, we'll talk about validating the solution, validating the pricing, validating the solution and validating the pricing, and we'll add more a little bit about it, because now that you know what the problem is, maybe your solution doesn't necessarily solve the problem well, right? Or that, you know, you might price something really high and the kind of customer you're trying to target doesn't want to spend that much on the solution. So we'll talk about that next week. I'll come to the question. For those of you that are interested, like I mentioned a few weeks back, where my foundation, Women in Tech Africa, is working with MTN, partnering with MTN Foundation for 3 years, where we're working, this is specific to Ghana, we're working in Ghana, across the regions in Ghana to teach technology entrepreneurship. We start next week, Monday. So if you're interested, I know that the Accra event is full. We had something like over 100 applicants for Accra, and so and we could only pick 35. So, but we have Cape Coast and Tamale and Kumasi. Those applications are still available. So if you want, you can go to www.womenintechafrica.com/girl code and you can find out about it. Right. So I'm going to go and see if we have questions on on the stream. So bear with me a second, and we see if we can answer those questions. Okay, so here we go. I don't think we have, I think there's somebody else who's trying to make sure his products are seen. But I don't think we have any questions. So I'm going to set up, or I don't see any questions. So I'm going to set up, I'm going to ask the question for the week. So that you will be just like, what's his name? Nana Dodu. Is it Nana? Kwame Asari Dodu. You'll be like Kwame Asari Dodu and win a book. So here's my question. My question is about what are the questions, I mentioned the questions to ask on validating your distribution channel. What are the questions? If you're the first person to answer that question, you will win the HBR book on communications, and you can pick it up from the Pulse Ghana offices. Since we don't have any questions or comments, we're going to sign out for this week. My action point for you this week is take time out, walk out of the building, go to a place where you think that your target customers are, and strike up a conversation. I'm going to ask you to tell me your stories next week when we come back. Strike up a conversation and try and talk to at least 5 people, and don't tell them about your solution. Don't say, I built this business that does this and this and this. Actually try and ask them about the pain points you're trying to solve, the problem you're trying to solve. Use that list of questions that I gave you, and as you go, just slip those questions in, and see if really the people that you're targeting are the people, the problem that you want to solve, it's a problem that really people have. So, it's over. I hope you learned a lot from it. I had a tough week. I'm looking forward to getting some rest this weekend and seeing you back here next week with your adventures. Adventures on how you are validating your problems. I know people have, there have been a couple of emails about maybe a WhatsApp group. I'm still thinking about it. So I'll think about it, putting a WhatsApp group together for the listeners. A few people have reached out. I'm still thinking about it. We'll see if there's something that I want to commit to doing. But enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you for joining us on the Ethel Kofi Startup School. Sell it to them.